Welcome to TNT, baby, the naked truth with Taylor Armstrong, where I'm going to expose everything about my life, and my guests are going to come on, get naked with me, and bear it all. Now let's get naked. We are so excited for the next chapter in what is going on with your life. I'm on pins and needles. It's just incredible to spend time with the bank robber turned butler. And now you've just left Liverpool, London, actually at Heathrow on Pan Am, and you're heading to Santa Monica. And now we have to know, this is like the cliffhanger. What happened next?
Well, I arrive in Santa Monica and I'm on my own. I've got some money, and Elizabeth Taylor always said to me, go to Santa Monica, go to Hollywood, you know, and I end up in Santa Monica. And I end up in a bar, and it's beautiful in December. John Lennon had just actually died, and it was a sad time for Liverpool. And it was a sad time for me as well, because I was lonely, I was on my own, and I end up in this little hotel called the Carmel Hotel on 2nd Street, and I have a little pint of beer, and I just sit there and, you know, thinking, but I've got the jet lag, and what am I going to do with my life? And basically, I did a few little odd jobs, working in a bakery and then in a bar. My brother eventually would invest in the bar. We put a little bit of money in and then we pulled it out. But my main objective was to go to Beverly Hills. And I'd found a domestic agency called the International Agency. And when I went there, once you see me, what my discharge book from the Queen Elizabeth II, the ocean liner.
Right.
She was over the moon. Because in that, it said PRS in red, penthouse room steward. So she's over the moon. The butler in the penthouses. Yes. Yeah. Elizabeth Taylor, oh my God. So I'm in the agency and all the stars are on the wall. It was on Beverly Drive. It's got all these stars on the wall, and she went, I've got the right job for you. She said, call me tomorrow. Anyway, what it was, she never told me. She told me to come back. Call her tomorrow. I went back and I got dressed because I knew the interview was going to happen. All my clothes were in the car. And it was for Maggie Eastwood, Clint's wife.
Wow.
It was for
Clint
Maggie.
Eastwood's wife.
Yeah, Maggie. And she was up, and they had a home in Hollywood Hills. So that's where I have the interview.
That's
And
At their actual home.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I went there, and she was nice, young. I think she was in her 40s at the time. Yeah, she must have been in her 40s. She had 2 kids, Kyle and Allison, she told me. And then she said, do you want to fly up to Carmel? So I went up to Carmel.
Oh, that's his town.
That's his town?
Yeah.
So I went there, and actually they owned a little restaurant called, I forget the name of it now. It's a little restaurant they owned in Carmel. It'll come to me in a minute. The Hog's Breath Inn.
Okay.
That's it.
That's not an easy one to remember.
Yeah, it's very hard to remember, yeah. And anyway, I ended up with Clint and his wife.
Yeah.
But at the time, I think they were going through a divorce.
Oh.
So I took care of Allison, took care of Kyle. Kyle was in the middle of doing a movie with his dad called The Honky Tonk Man.
Oh, that's cool.
At
Yeah,
the
very
time.
cool.
Yeah. Now, here I was in Carmel, but my wife had come over as well. And I had an apartment in Santa Monica. So I was missing my wife.
Yeah.
But I was just basically trying to do a job. From
Right.
getting that past behind me, going into a whole new world of being a butler. And I think it fitted me. So after a couple of months, Clint was quiet. He would always go on the patio, have a beer, and I'd do all the meals for them, and I put what you call a curriculum for the house.
Right.
And that's what we did on the QE2. It had to be spotless.
Yes.
So we would implement things that they didn't know, and how to run a home basically as a domestic.
Like a house manager.
Yeah, but you know, basically I was a butler. So after a while, I think it was about 4 or 5 months, it was cold in Carmel as well. So I decided to leave. And Maggie said, where are you going? I said, I'm going back to Santa Monica. She went, there's a guy here in the valley. And it was Merv Griffin.
Merv Griffin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
So
Now you're in the inner circle.
Yeah, but I didn't know it.
Yeah, but it just kind of crept up on you because now you've been in with Clint and now they're
Yeah.
friends and now you're like in the inner circle.
Well, having come over from London, did you know who these actors even were?
Well, I knew Clint.
Okay.
I didn't know Merv. And basically, Maggie called me at the house. She said, you've got to go up to Sunset and Vine. His office was there. Goes over there. Okay. I said to him, listen, how about my wife come and lives with me? Because that's the reason why I left Clint. I said, so she can come and live there on the property. So I flew back up with Merv from the Valley. There was an airport in Sherman Oaks there. It was
Van
a little-
Nuys.
Van Nuys Airport.
Yes.
That's correct.
This is my old stomping ground.
Is it?
Yes. I was Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I noticed was he had this beautiful young man with him. Well, my experiences on the QE2, I just put two and two together. That's his boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went up there and he lived in Carmel Valley at the top of a mountain. Not a mountain, but,
Right.
big hill.
It's gorgeous.
And
Something
it was
beautiful.
absolutely gorgeous in the valley. Yeah, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
gorgeous. And put a curriculum together. I had a house with my wife and that. And then one night, one weekend, my wife had gone back home and I was on my own after a few months. And Merv said to me, why don't you come and sit here on the sofa? So
like,
I
"Come
went,
hang out."
oh my God. I just did the dinner for, and his boyfriend's name at the time was Tony.
Right.
And he actually had a son called Tony. And I'm sitting there and I went, oh, no, I'm okay, thanks. So, and actually, he made it innuendo. He said, maybe we could have a threesome.
Oh, that's a little more than an innuendo.
That's what I was going to say. That sounds like a straight request.
Exactly. Well, that's so awkward, though, because then if you say no, now you're still working there. And
But then that was like, at the time, like the power that they had, then that was Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know.
Absolutely.
I'm just doing a job.
And if you are you trying to be totally straight and narrow at this point?
Yeah.
I mean, totally leaving all crime behind now.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Just trying to get on with my life.
Just
and
doing it all new.
Yeah, everything's new. But also, I still am haunted of being on the lam.
oh, right, yes,
what I
that's I
mean.
was wondering too.
Yeah.
That there was no extradition or
No,
or
well,
they-
actually, in that police station, I wasn't charged with them 4 bank robberies. They couldn't charge me because of the prison strike
okay. Oh, there was
And that was
never
it.
There was
official
no
charge.
charges.
Okay.
implemented.
But it's still in the back of your head. Like,
Yeah.
could I ever, can they catch me? Can they,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Or is there going to be more
Extradite me.
evidence come up
Yeah.
and then they're going to pull me back? But when you were getting on the Pan Am flight, when they looked at your identification,
No, it's clean.
oh, good. All right.
Nothing yet.
It wouldn't happen now. There's way too
So
much
lucky.
information out there they would know for sure.
So let's get back to Merv. So I
Yeah,
didn't
Merv.
like the situation with him. So I decided to just go back to Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And now Dora at the international agency, she loved it. Because the more I moved around, the more commission she got,
Absolutely.
right?
So,
So I went back to the agency and she comes up with this job. And it's Jack Benny's old house,
Yeah.
the famous comedian in America.
yes.
Absolutely, old-time Hollywood. And anyway, I get the job, no problem. It's silver service, what I'm used to. They've got 3 kids. Lucille Ball lives next door. Peter Falk lives on the other side.
So cool.
Oh my
Peaceful.
gosh, I love
Yeah.
these people.
And
Yes.
I actually got to know the 2 of them.
Oh my God.
And I'll tell you, so I was in this job and the woman, I just, when you don't like it, but you're biting your tongue
Yeah.
and you're just doing your job and that. And I'd go upstairs, I'd get on the phone, I'd call Dora, I'd say, I don't like this job.
The agency.
Yeah, I want another job. So anyway, I stayed there for a few months. And one morning, I've got to tell you, I'm out in Roxbury Drive and in the house, and I go to the backyard. And this lady next door, it was Lucille Ball.
I love
She
Lucille.
pops up
Amazing.
and she goes, "Hi, how are you?"
And you knew who she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I was getting used to it a little bit. I
Right.
wasn't like starstruck or nothing like that. And I went, hi, how are you? She went, my maid's off today. Could you help me? Who are you?
Right.
So I just went like that. I went, I'm the butler. And she went, really? Well, I need my garbage cans taken out.
And that's how
Now,
that
in
happened.
Beverly Hills, they don't go out in front of the street. A lot of people don't know this. They go in the alleyway. And the garbage cans are 3 times bigger than the mainstream. So I took all the garbage out for her. I put it in there. And I just turned to her and I went, you look like my mother.
Ah.
My mother had red hair and she had blue eyes and she was beautiful. And Lucy was beautiful.
Yes.
And she started laughing, and I just started saying, listen, if you need me next week, I'll be in the garden at the same time, because I have to clean all the furniture once a week. And so you can call me if you want me. Anyway, she's there next week.
And she did.
And she wants, so I said to her, I want a cup of tea.
I want a cup of
I get
She
a
went,
cup
"Really?"
of tea. Yeah.
And next thing, she runs in the house.
There's a little bit of flirting going on there. No?
She's a bit older, you know.
Yeah?
Yeah, but it was just nice.
It was just
that was just
nice.
the personality.
Okay.
To, you know, to help people because
Right.
of the QE2. And
Everybody
that
was
the,
nice.
Yeah. And if it would have been like, if she was been a bit younger, yeah.
Yeah.
20s, like Elizabeth Taylor would have been in her 20s.
Yes.
So what happened was, she makes me a cup of tea. So I can honestly say I had a cup of tea from Lucille Ball.
I love that.
I love that too.
And then I stayed for a while. So one afternoon I was coming down the street and I'd always go for the walk
Yeah.
to get out the house. Or one of my main things was to take the Rolls Royce to over by the Beverly Centre where they had this car wash. You had an exclusive car wash by the Beverly Centre and they done the cars beautiful. And that was, I couldn't wait to get out in the Rolls Royce just to drive around Beverly Hills. So one day I went for the walk, and as I was coming down the street in Roxbury, here he was, Columbo, piece of folk, on the front, chipping golf balls.
Really?
And I went, how you doing, sir? He went, good, how are you? I said, yeah, fine. And then he sees me coming the alleyway and he's looking at me. I said, I'm just the butler, everything's fine. And I would have loved to have said to him, you cannot catch me.
Oh, Columbo. Well, you have to put that in the
That
second
would've
one.
been
Oh my
so
God.
good.
Yes.
So I felt like saying to him, you can't catch
You
me,
can't
Columbo.
catch me.
Oh, I
I'm
love
next
it.
door, man. Oh my God, it was funny. So anyway.
And none of these people have any idea this incredible life that you lived prior to being a butler
No.
in Hollywood. It's like you had this most amazing life that it was actually like being in a movie, right? And they're actors in a movie, but you like actually experience these things, and then you show up there and you're like the butler.
And there's no background checks.
It's
I mean,
wild,
now,
right?
now it would
No,
never work.
You're like legitimately a whole different person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, at the time though, I was suffering, my mental health was suffering with the worry of being on the lam.
I would imagine.
It's like, you know, the fear and the psychological, it affects you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I did go to St. John's on 14th Street in Santa Monica. I had 3 bleeding ulcers.
Oh my gosh.
And one of the doctors, Dr. Messina, he was Alex Messina. He's 83 years of age now. He called me a few weeks ago. And because I told him about the book, I said, you're in the book.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, that's
And he
awesome.
called me. So 44 years ago, he sealed me ulcers and he looked after me. And he actually said to me, Terry, what is wrong with you? This lovely man, why are you like this? And I recorded my life story with him.
You did.
He sent me to a psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Obler in Beverly Hills. I told my life story to him. They got me on some medication, calmed me down, and I would actually use this information. That was in 1981.
Right.
I would actually use this information 20 years later at Rampton Hospital for the Criminally Insane when I got interviewed,
Oh my gosh.
when I sue all the homes. And I asked them, have you got my documents? It's documented. It's documented.
That's amazing.
And they had no choice. They were defending the Christian Brothers and the Catholic Church, and they had no choice but to go on my side
Wow.
because of all that.
But there was proper documentation of the abuse?
Yes.
Wow. I'm surprised they would even document that.
Well, I told in 1981 when Dr. Messina couldn't understand why I had these ulcers, and then I told a psychiatrist I was on the lam, and I'd had these pains in my head, and I had physical, psychosomatic pains,
Yes.
and they were going everywhere, and it was killing me. But I used it 20 years later in a
But the
lawsuit.
actual schools didn't have documentation. The
No.
places where they were abusing you didn't have their own documentation about
No.
abuse. Oh, okay.
No.
No, we
Yep.
had to prove that with doctors.
Got it.
So this
Yeah.
was like you talking to your therapist and you're like telling them your whole life and like how you ended up with all this, where you were physically, kind of how it affected you. And then when you sued them, when you decided to sue them, they pulled all those documents, I think, like
Yeah.
subpoenaed them or
Yeah.
whatever.
But
Which is amazing that it lined up so that
well,
there
what
was
happened
actually
is
proof.
I carried on in Beverly Hills, and then I got a call to go to George Segal.
Yeah.
George Segal was one of the biggest actors in the world, next to Brando, and he was next to Richard Burton. And I went to work for George, and he had a wife called Linda Segal, and she was the manager for the Pointer Sisters.
Oh, cool.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I settled at their home in Bel Air, and I put a curriculum together, and I end up George Segal's butler. And one day he says to me, Teddy, I'm having a party in the garden. What can you do to eat? I said, well, we'll do my mother's old Irish stew.
Yeah.
It's 100 years old. We'll do that. So I told George, you know, just leave it up to me. Now, we were pretty good little friends, me and George. You got to like me in that. And he gives me this list of all the guys I've got to go and pick up. And he's got this, there was a thing in the 80s called the Circus of the Stars.
Oh, I remember it.
Yeah, the Circus
Yeah.
of the Stars.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, when they went on Circus of the Stars, George was taming the lions, right?
Right.
So George got this big white Rolls Royce off Circus of the Stars. He got that. So I got to drive that. So this day, these are the guys that were picked up. Burt Reynolds, Buddy Ackie, Art Carney, and then George. I got them back to the house. I had the three of them in the back of the Rolls Royce, and I was looking at them, going, oh my God, got all these actors in the car. And then Buddy Hackett was one of the famous comedians in America.
Right?
And then
Buddy Hackett.
Yeah. So we takes them back to the house, and we all go in the kitchen, get them a drink. They all sit down, they all have a scotch, they all smoking cigars, just like the gang, you know.
Yeah.
Like us when we were young, the gangsters, we did the same thing
Right.
in all the clubs. But this is Bel Air.
Yeah, totally different. but
So
the
he said to
same.
me, George, he said, there's one more guy coming in a minute. He said, just answer the door, Teddy, let him in. It's about 15 minutes later, the doorbell goes. And I opens it, it's Robert Redford.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Because he'd
Icing
done a
on the
movie
cake.
with him. He'd done a movie with him, How to Steal a Diamond.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh.
They
Yeah.
should have had you write that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're like, I have some ideas.
yeah,
Yeah.
How to Steal a Diamond. And they're all there sitting there in the garden. And I served them this stew. And they were like delighted. And George came back in. And he was getting upset over Marlon Brando. That the script, I think it was 15 million Marlon Brando was getting for the movie. And George gets the script, he throws it on the floor. I should be getting this. And Burt Reynolds says to him, that's not like you, George. Behave yourself. So he came in the kitchen, George. And I, in my life, don't say nothing because I'm just a butler.
Right.
And I said, Marlon Brando. I said, wow, what an actor. And he went, George looks at me. And what? I said, well, you know, I go to Joan Rivers's house on the weekends. He didn't know. And I take care of Sir Laurence Olivier.
Sir Laurence Olivier.
I said, Joan's husband, Edgar Rosenberg, they wanted specifically an English butler because Sir Laurence Olivier was doing business with Edgar because he was a producer when he was young.
Right.
And he went, yeah. I said, well, I see him every weekend. And I said, one of the fascinating things, Mr. Segal, is that I asked him, who do you think was the greatest actor? Because I'd studied acting. I wanted to know. Mm-hmm. And he said, Marlon Brando.
Oh, no. You told him this?
Yeah. I said, but here's the thing, Mr. Segal. You are second. They've got Marlon Brando. They've got you next to him. And George went, okay, I've heard enough. Bring some Irish stew out.
Yeah.
Come on. And I go back out so it was a great experience working with George. It was incredible.
It was like more of a friendship.
Yeah, it actually was.
Yeah.
He actually used to give me his Aston Martin because my car broke down. And he said, take the Aston Martin. And what I did for him is he had this beautiful garage and all his movie posters. Mm-hmm. I painted it.
Oh, really?
I put all the movies, Fun with Dick and Jane, Jane Fonda, The Longest Day, John Wayne.
Oh my gosh.
All of them, The Howl and the Pussycat. All
the
these
classics.
All these classics. Yeah. How to Steal a Diamond with Robert Redford.
That's the best
He was
one.
in the Great Valentine Massacre. He was the main guy in it.
Oh my gosh. I've not seen that one.
Yeah. So George was great. And then he was actually moving back to New York.
Oh. So that was it?
Yeah. I met the Pointer Sisters. They came over for dinner one night. I cooked them dinner.
That must have been fun.
One fella that came over was brilliant, was Harry Nielsen.
Yeah.
Harry Nielsen was one of the greatest singers in America.
Really?
Yeah. Harry Nielsen. He come over one night. He was George's. They'd sit in the garden playing the banjo. His song was, what was the song? His famous song, I Can't Live Without You.
Yeah, I don't know it.
I can't live.
Do you know it?
I can't live
when
anymore.
living's without
I
you.
can't live. Yeah.
That's who that is?
Yes.
Oh, everybody knows that song.
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
That's who it was.
That's incredible.
So he used to come over and hang out with George.
Yeah.
But what I decided to do was, I told the agency, you know what? I might as well just go work here for 6 months, work there for 6 months. If anybody wants me, I'll go. So after George, I went to a house in Truesdale Estates.
Mm-hmm.
Truesdale.
Yeah. And they owned the Kahala Hilton in Hawaii.
Right.
And the name was Mr. and Mrs. Weinberg. And
Weinberg's a big name.
Yeah.
In LA.
And it was the only independent Hilton hotel.
Mm-hmm.
But at this house, there was a lot of tragedy.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
You know, with Mrs. Weinberg, she was mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
I did save her life one morning.
Wow. What
Yeah.
happened?
She was psychotic. I knew that there was something wrong with her when I met her.
Yeah.
And it took me back to the movie Scum,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
when they were killing themselves in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew when I had the interview that I didn't meet her, and then I met her when I started the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I met her in the bedroom, and you know when there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we hired the chef, and she didn't like him. And then it was just chaotic. And then this morning, my room was like here, and there's a hallway there to the garage, and the smoke was coming through
Oh wow.
Oh no, from the garage.
from the garage.
Yeah.
So she had a pipe going in from the exhaust, the muffler, into the car
Right.
to commit suicide.
Right.
And I
Pulled her out.
heard the rumbling.
Yeah.
and I got my pants on. I thought someone's stealing the car. So I went round, and eventually I had a key and I opened it. Smoke just comes out. Just looking at the car. Thought there's a short.
Yeah.
You know, the alternator and the battery. And next thing,
You thought anything but what it was.
anything but what it was. And there she was. The poor woman was lying there. And she was unconscious.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, you
And
did
I
save
got
her
it
life.
out and I dragged it out. We had the phone in the garage, called 911, and the ambulances, the police came. They knew the record. But what was ironic was when she was on the gurney, they asked me, Terry, how old do you think she is? And I would say like 42, 43.
Right.
And I said, oh, she's about 42, 43. She takes the mask off and she goes, 44.
Oh, really? Oh, no. She's like 44.
I thought she was going to be offended that you
I
said
know,
that.
me too.
And
That's
she's
so
like,
crazy.
I'm 25.
So next thing,
That's so funny, though.
I just looked at it and I went, oh my God, this is ridiculous.
Right.
Anyway, the staff left on the circumstances of the health, and the doctors had advised them to leave, and then I stayed. I'm like, I stay.
'Cause it
Anyway,
didn't
You
look
needed to
it-
watch over her. You
Yeah.
felt, yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the way you feel.
Like a
And
guardian.
you're probably the
Like,
best
yeah.
pet for it,
So
too.
I went in the bedroom one night and I said, what do you want? And she went, I want some salmon and lox. And she said, can you go and get them from Nate Now's on Beverly Drive?
Nate Now's. Oh
Nate
my
Now's.
gosh, these are like all my old hangouts.
Yeah, yeah. It's still open?
It's still,
Yes.
I believe so.
Yeah. So I used to go in there every night nearly and see all the film stars and that, you know. Laddie King. I used to talk to Laddie
Larry
King.
King
Yeah, I
over
used to
there.
say hello to him.
Oh, he used to be there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably,
Yeah?
Probably still. Oh, no.
He's gone now.
I'm like, actually, oh, no.
no. But he was there all the time.
Forgot.
At
Yeah.
Nate Now's. That's funny that you and I both know that.
So I come home and, you know, being trained this way, you only know one way is the lovely silver tray, you know, strawberries, the lox, the bagel, and I described the house, it was like The Shining, the movie.
Really?
Oh, wow.
The corridor in them days was all brown with the lights on the side of the...
Very
the-
depressing.
Yeah.
Very depressing.
And then you got to the end and the doors were like 18 foot high, brown doors in them days. And as I was coming down the corridor,
It's just drab.
I heard shot.
A gunshot.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Do you think she sent you to Nate Now's so that she could do that without you watching over her?
No, that was the day before she wanted that.
Okay.
I'd gone there before that and she requested that.
Right.
She wanted what
And-
she wanted?
She actually just left.
It's
Then the
tragic.
police came and then they interviewed me. And I just thought, wow. But I was sort of, because I'd seen it in Scum when I was sentenced to Borstal for the 2 years with this kid. He hung himself. And I was used to it, you know, and
Yeah.
from a young, early age.
Which is terribly tragic that
seemed
you
like a
get
part of it.
desensitized
Yeah,
after you'd
and-
seen it so much growing up in these horrible
So
institutions.
what happened was, I packed all my stuff. I still had my apartments in Santa Monica. My wife was there. She was working for the real estate company. And I just left. And then within a day or two, another phone call from Dora, the
Yeah.
international agency. And it was for there was 3 people involved. There was Glenn Ford, an old famous actor, Johnny Carson in Malibu,
Of course, we know Johnny Carson.
Of course.
And,
Malibu, famous.
and Max Factor.
Max Factor.
Factor.
Yeah, I know his family.
Yeah.
So Dora is like the puppeteer of these adventures.
Yes.
Yeah.
She
She's
really
like,
is.
It's almost like I picture like a movie like that's done, and then you go into this whole new story, right? And then like when that ends, it's like, I got a new place for you to go, and there's like a whole new story. It's wild.
It is.
Yeah.
And then what happened was, went to Johnny Carson. I think he had a place called Blue Heaven in Malibu. But also, I haven't got the awareness of what's going on because of the troubles in England. The blocking that awareness out. The most significant thing on my mind is my problems. So I couldn't function as much to my ability. So anyway, it's Max Factor.
Yeah.
Max Factor.
Glenn Ford, I went to see Glenn Ford. I think his wife was a model, and she was young, and he wore dark glasses, and he lived at the back of the Beverly Hills Hotel. Now it's called Glenn Ford Way.
Oh, wow.
And he's a lovely man, and he seen me discharge book from the Merchant Navy, the QE2, and he said, oh my God, he said, I was in the Navy. And he was telling me all about when he was in the Navy. But in essence, he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
But he was a lovely man. So I ended up going to Max Factor. Now, Max Factor, he had 4 kids. So this is Max Factor Jr.
Right.
Got the same Max Factor.
Yes.
And he had a brother called Davis. So basically,
I know them.
So it was for Davis Factor. So I get this job with Davis Factor. And it's on Beverly Glen by Holmby Hills, by Arm and Hammer Park. The job's easy. It's taking Davis out every day to the office to buy $2 million worth of stock. And I've got the run of this home.
Yeah. That's exciting.
And I live out. At the weekends, I live in. And but one of the things was my sister was coming over. I'd been with him about 4 months, 5 months. Got to know the family. Barbara, his daughter, protected him. Lovely man. Drive him to Malibu. Drive him all over Beverly Hills. Really, all his dinner parties, the birthday parties we did was beautiful. The Christmas party I did was beautiful. And we got this call as I'm doing dinner. My sister had been over on vacation. So she's coming through the immigration, and she bought some clothes here, and she had my address in Santa Monica. So the phone goes, and I picked it up, and it's the United States Immigration. And they say, Teddy? And I went, yeah. We need to speak to you.
Oh.
I said, what for?
No.
We're holding your sister. She has your address, and she's got some references on her, how to write the story to get a job in Beverly Hills as a maid. So we want you to come to Los Angeles. And I just said, see ya, put the phone down, went to my room, packed my bags, and left. Max Factor's. I left.
Wow.
Max Factor's going, wow.
Like,
I called Barbara. Barbara lived on North Linden Drive. I called Barbara and I told her. And she said, Teddy, you should have told us. So I moved out to a hotel because I found out later on that the immigration weren't allowed to come to a private home.
oh, that's interesting.
But the immigration wanted you because of your history.
Probably because I was illegal at the time. My visa had run out. And then my sister, it was all connected.
Right.
Yeah.
So that, you get a nosy immigration officer. He had the address in Beverly Hills. I'm going to call the house in Beverly Hills. See what's going on in Beverly Hills. So he calls me and he got me. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So I left and we went to a hotel for 2 weeks. Left the apartment. And then after 2 weeks, we moved back in. And all of a sudden, Dora.
Of course, Dora.
All roads lead back to her.
All roads lead back to Dora. Oh my God, she's an angel.
Oh,
Right?
sounds like
That's
it.
what I
She's
love
controlling all my life. So it goes, and she said to me, Teddy, we've just got this guy. He's just bought a house in Holmby Hills. It's about 6,000 square feet, and she's telling me, and I'm going, 6,000 square feet? What's that?
Right, it's not
I'm
that
like,
big.
I don't know the square feet. It's just a house to me.
Yeah.
And he's got it this, and he's got that. He owns a Toyota company, and anyway, I went to the house, and I got all dressed up and everything, and I have an interview with two of the girls,
Right.
his secretaries. So they choose me and a French chef. So it's between the two of us, but the French chef is not a butler. So I get the job.
They'd rather have a butler than a French meal.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah.
A butler that can do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And so what happened is his name was Frederick Wiseman, and he owned Toyota,
that's amazing.
Mid-Atlantic Toyota, billions.
Yeah.
So I became his butler.
That's so cool.
Our neighbours was Burt Reynolds and Barbra Streisand, Frank Sinatra, Michael Jackson had a house down the street, Elvis's old house was down the street, Rod Stewart with Alana, he was up, Gregory Peck.
Oh, I love Gregory Peck
Yeah,
too.
it was on Carrollwood Drive in Beverly Hills. It was
I
unbelievable.
don't think that being a butler ever sounded so romantic and amazing. Like, I'm literally sitting here thinking, I need to go apply to be like a house manager. I would like to be a butler or live in.
Well, you're so organized. You'd be really good at it.
I'm like, I think
You'd be
I need
great.
this. I need this job.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I end up with Wiseman
Wow.
for a few years. The stories with him alone, you could write a book.
I would imagine.
We went out one day, he leased a jet
Yeah.
for 50 million.
That's
A
incredible.
G4. He painted it blue with nice white stars, and so it would blend in the night, going back to New York to his brownstone.
Oh my gosh.
But one of the greatest stories with him was 1969 in the Polo Lounge.
I love the Polo
Yeah.
Lounge.
He's sitting there, the Rat Pack's sitting over there, and Sinatra's being loud, and Wiseman is a Russian Jew, and he tells him to be quiet, and Sinatra says, "Who the F are you talking to?" So Wiseman gets up and he punches Sinatra. Then
Wow.
Wiseman is punching him. Sinatra's bodyguard moves in and blackjacks him. Within an hour, he's got a tumour. They're taking it off in Sinai Medical Center in Beverly Hills. He's got a tumour,
Oh
a
my gosh.
hematobium on the brain.
Oh my gosh.
Did he live through it?
He lived through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And then in the house, he was an art collector. So he had all these beautiful 3 million, 4 million pieces of art.
Right.
So one day he tells me there's a piece coming. And he's so excited. I'm uneducated on art. I know a little bit. But this day he's so excited. He said, "Teddy, the master's coming today. I'll be in my office." They ring the doorbell. I let them in, and they bring the master out. I run down to his office, get him. He comes up. They undo it, and what it was the Picasso, the mother and child.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
The original.
exactly.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So what happened was, he said, "Teddy, look at it." And I think I was 25, 26. And I'm looking, going, he's asking my advice. Who am I?
On the Picasso.
And he's going, "Teddy, where should we put it?" And I said, "Over the fireplace. The house is blessed. She will watch over the house, the mother and child." That was in 1983. Today we're sitting here. I went back to the house 2 years ago as a guest
Right.
with my daughter. It's now a museum. And you can do tours. It's one of the best tours in Beverly Hills, and it's still there
To this day.
Fabulous.
to this
That's
day.
I
amazing.
love it.
I was cleaning the office. I looked at the inventory, and it said 75 million,
And that was in the 80s.
83,
Oh my
83,
gosh.
84. So what I did, I called Ronnie in New York.
Oh, no.
I was gonna ask you.
Oh, no.
I was gonna say, like, was your brain
Yeah.
turning? Like, because that
Yeah.
just seems so accessible and like such an easy heist.
Well, before that,
Oh, no.
he was away, and I'd found his safe was open. I think there was about $54,000 and about $250,000 worth of jewelry. And I was going to take it. And then the redemption was setting in the brain, thinking, hold on a minute. It was my wife said to me, Teddy, you can't steal this. You know, you've got a job here. And all that redemption was going through. And then we planned, I gave that back to his secretaries. And I never touched it.
Right.
I could have left and bought a lovely home in England, but there was no point. If I would have done that, then the police would have been involved in Beverly Hills. They would have had me, and they would have flew me back to LA.
But it's interesting the struggle in your head
The struggle,
to stay straight and narrow in this new life, or to like fight your kind of your own inner demons about what you naturally have done your whole life to survive or to get ahead.
Yeah. So I'd fought that, and then I got Ronnie, and then Ronnie actually came out to Beverly Hills, and he was going to go through the house at the back. I was going to show him where the Picasso was,
Oh, no.
and then we were going to steal the Picasso.
You were deep into this plan. Like
It was all planned,
yeah,
and I went, no, you can't do it. You can't do it.
How
It would
did
have
you
been
react?
virtually impossible to move it, though.
That's right.
Yeah.
We realized, well, at the time, we were immature. We had no plan, and then we would have failed.
Yeah.
And then my life was just, you know.
It would have ruined your whole. You had created this
Yeah.
whole new
Yeah.
life
New
that's
life.
very
So then-
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also, you know, from that little child, from destroying yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Then I was in my 20s, then I was going to destroy myself.
Yeah.
I was going to destroy myself. And then
Your brain's
Wiseman,
an incredible thing.
he packed up his operation and he went to back to New York to live.
Right.
Yeah,
So did you go back to Dora?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to the
So
agency.
that was you. Back to the agency.
yeah. And I don't tell this story in the book, and it's for. There was a store in America called the Broadway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Broadways.
Yeah.
Walden Books,
Yeah.
and there was another big company. Now, three of them guys, their partners, was Carter, Hawley, Hale. And they had a house in Hancock Park by Larchmont Village. And I went for the interview to Hawley's home on 3 acres. And who lived next door? Muhammad Ali.
Oh my gosh.
This side was Jerry Buss.
Jerry
So
Buss.
wild.
Jerry
Yeah.
Buss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lakers.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I took the job.
Of course.
I took the job, and it was unbelievable. It was hard work, and I was there for about 8 months, and it was just unbelievable. But my wife had called me and said, "Hey Teddy, there's a psychic,
A psychic.
yeah, in Los Angeles. Her name is Ruth Maybury,
Right.
and she's famous. You know, your mind's tormented. Why don't you speak to her?" So I called her up. The Hawleys were out of town for the weekend.
Yeah.
I was guiding the house. The house is beautiful. And she came and interviewed me.
Wow.
And she's sitting with me in the Hawleys. And she's got the notes. And she goes, "I see some depositions that you were involved in a robbery."
Wow.
She did not. She just totally called it.
Yeah,
Were you blown away?
yeah. And I wouldn't say nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Of course not.
and then she said, but you've been exonerated. I didn't know what that word meant. She said, you've been exonerated. She said, the guy that was involved with you, Joey, he was your snitch.
I knew Joey was the rat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
When he didn't show up for the one
Yeah, that was a
heist.
giveaway.
I thought so too.
Yeah,
And then when he was in the cop car too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just thought, how would she know that? How would she know?
She was a real psychic.
I think she was an actual psychic.
Yeah.
That's wild.
What made you decide to just come clean on everything and write the book?
People years ago people used to talk about me and say, he's a butler, he's this, but they didn't know the other side to me, the insane life that I'd led.
Mm-hmm.
So I was with my daughter, Kelly, and I took her back home when she was a kid to all the mafia homes. And
Wow.
one of them was head of the mafia, and she would come with me, and nobody could get near them. And then I would take her to the houses, and I'd take her to my other friends in Spain, in the mafia. I'd take her to another guy's house, and she got to know them as children. And some of them came over to visit me, and that's how she knew. She knew that some of them would say to her, your father is the most trusted man in Liverpool. They talk about him. So what happened was, in the pandemic, we were out one night in Newport, and she's a bit feisty, not like them Newport Beach girls.
That's right.
And she said to me, Dad, why don't you write your life story? And I said, I don't know, I don't want to say too much. She went, no, I'm ordering the manuals now. She ordered them all. They came to the house, and I just started writing. And I just started writing all the stories. And that's how I...
That's amazing.
It's such an incredible story. There's so much more to it.
Yeah.
The Liverpool bank robber to Hollywood Butler, with all of these amazing two lives that are all under one man and all the memories. It's just incredible.
So many different things.
And then now the second book, you're going to reveal even more.
Yeah, you can only write in one book. I'm doing the prequel before this. So the prequel to the sequel, it's the sequel, and it'll be Marlon Brando, Joan Rivers, it'll be Farrah Fawcett, and then it'll be some of the stories that, some of the robberies in the book, and then it'll be going back to England, getting exonerated, and then filing a lawsuit, the biggest lawsuit in British history against the Catholic Church.
And that is super interesting.
It is so
We have
interesting.
So what prompted you to file this lawsuit so many years later?
Well, it had come out about a kid in the book was written by Christian Wolmar, and he contacted me 20 odd years ago to see if these stories were true. Now, we hadn't seen each other for 30 odd years. So the police was again looking for me.
Right.
And this has prompted me to go back to England to join the lawsuit. And they said that there was, you know, if we won them, that there was significant money. And that was for, I thought, was for the trauma that I had put up with. And one of the things I went to was, there was a doctor in America called Dr. Daniel Amen. And I went to him and explained my life story. And he does the NFL. He does all the head injuries. And he examined me, and I got his diagnosis. To go back to fight this lawsuit for 14 years. Anyway, they put 2 trials on, test trials, and what they did is they won. So then they said, go back and settle the cases.
And just to clarify for the viewers and the readers, the lawsuit was you suing the Catholic Church
Yes.
for the treatment by putting you in these homes and
Yes.
the treatment in all of those homes growing up.
Yes.
And how that affected your life and you as a person.
Yeah.
And the lives of so many.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm a survivor today because most of them, everybody in the book has died.
Oh.
Right.
Some of them are very wealthy millionaires. And then we go back, and then the mafia, there's a conspiracy to kill Joey.
Right, the rat.
Wow.
And I said no, because he wasn't worth it.
So it gets more and more exciting
It gets
as,
more exciting.
as the
His son,
books go on here.
yeah, his son gets killed in a Kentucky Fried Chicken a few months later. He gets shot in the head. Joey gets caught moving cocaine. He gets 21 years in Scotland.
Oh my gosh. If you had to take like all of your cumulative experiences as a person, what would be like your top lesson, do you think, just by living your life? Like what is your lesson for humanity?
Be honest, integrity, and lead a honestable, principled life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in the end,
Living your truth.
yeah.
Living the truth,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and because eventually it'll hurt you.
Don't you feel, or you tell me, do you feel that writing it, putting it all on paper has been cathartic and just telling your own truth has given you some relief?
Yeah, I think for the future, for the legacy, for generations, for young children, because I had young children from Liverpool, and I get messages all over the world, and they send them on my daughters, Dad, you've changed his life. If they think they've had a bad life, well, you read that book, you haven't, and that's how you can survive.
Right.
With some of the stuff that you think that you've got bad, it's not.
Yes.
And then it's for the future generation, is to help them with their lives.
It's an interesting dynamic too, because I feel like that's why you stayed with who you were working for when she killed herself or committed suicide. It's like everybody left, but I think because you had been through so much trauma, like you understood her suffering, and so you stayed there to be there for her in a way. So I just think it's interesting that so somebody could look at your story and think, oh my gosh, well, he was a bank robber and he did this and he did that and maybe he deserved to go to jail. But you can also look at the other side where he was a small child that was abused by the system and had to fight for just basic needs. But what's come out of it is a compassionate person who believes that ethics and morals and being a good person is really the lesson that you take from all these crazy experiences. I think that's a real magical message.
Well, that lesson was going to fight the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the paedophiles, they were worse than us.
Oh, so much worse. Yeah.
They were far worse.
Yeah.
Because children, they actually made children commit suicide.
I mean, it's just an
And
unbearable thought.
Raping them in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that part was really hard to read.
Yeah. And they're helpless.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
I'm glad that you brought such a huge spotlight on all of that, and that the case. I'm glad it went on for 14 years because it was probably all over the media, and it brought a lot of attention.
It was on Panorama, and actually it was called "Hear No Evil, See No Evil."
That's right.
But most of them are dead now.
Yeah.
It's well documented, and in my documents I have them.
Of course.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the second book. It's just incredible. The first one was so fascinating, and I know there's so much more to come. And this, in my opinion, must become a screenplay.
Absolutely. I feel like there's so much in the first book that you could actually just create sequel after sequel, because we haven't even scraped the surface of the stories or the unique lessons that you've learned in your life. And I just feel honored that Taylor met you and brought you on this show, because it's just an incredible experience. And I know that just getting to know you for this short period of time will affect me forever.
I know. I couldn't agree more. No, when we met, I said this story has to be told, and it's in this book, and the book is new. And I hope that everyone will read The Liverpool Bank Robber to Hollywood Butler. What a dichotomy. It's amazing. Thank you, Terry, so much for coming in and talking with us.
Thank you, Taylor. Thanks for having me. Thank
Yeah.
you.
We
Joanna. Thank
thoroughly
you.
enjoyed it.
We'll have to have you back when you finish that
Yeah.
second book.
Absolutely. We want to hear
Absolutely.
the other juicy details.
Me too.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thanks.